Hi, I'm Margaret. I grew up going by the name Maggie, and it's only because I was raised by my grandmother, and it's hot here in northwest Arkansas. It's really humid, and we had some rain, so the humidity's high. And my grandmother's name is Marguerite, and we were both born on the same day and month. So she went by Marge, and I went by Maggie. And growing up, I used Maggie to defer the difference between the two of us. And then when I moved to northwest Arkansas, I tried to use Margaret because my grandmother had passed away when I was 17, and people thought I was trying to cover up something, and they took a really derogatory, negative opinion of it. So I went back to Maggie for a while, living in Arkansas, just to show them I wasn't hiding anything. And now I'm going back to Margaret after using Maggie for 25 years in Arkansas, so they would quit their negative gossip. And I wanted to make this video for a long time, and it's about my dancing career when I was a dancer. I was on my own at 17, and I tried odd jobs and tried ballroom dancing, and there's a lot of stories that I can tell about them. And I found that dancing on stage was the safest, and I was escorted to my car. And in Los Angeles, the only thing different, the only thing that is in common about dance clubs is, well, in Los Angeles, is the law. You have to abide by the law, keeping your distance. The men had to keep their distance from the women, and the stage rules. And in the 80s, in the early 80s, we got paid. We got paid by the hour, and we had a schedule. Plus, we got to keep our tips. And we got to keep our tips, and that was the only thing that kept the clubs in common, until like the 90s made changes in that. Then they went into contracts and etc. But the only thing that was in common was the basic things like that. Everything else was different by management. The managers of each club conducted their clubs independently different. Some clubs you had to step on a scale and be weighed in. Some clubs were primary certain clienteles, and for people to categorize dancers was it's not really possible, because they're just too different. They're just so different. And when people would ask me, how is your money? I would say, well, what year are you asking about, and what month? And I could tell you, because every year, and I could tell you by the month, it was never the same. I worked in one club for 10 years, Fritz That's It, in Bellflower, and that's Los Angeles County. Before that, I worked in a couple little clubs. One was owned by two retired police officers, that they bought a club on a corner in LA that was just out of jurisdiction of city laws. It was just one little corner, and so they found it and they opened up a club. And then I moved on from there, went to another club, and two other retired police officers opened, and that has its own story that I would have to make a video about, because one that had two owners, and one killed the other one, and it's got its own story. And I left there and then went to Fritz That's It. And Fritz That's It was just a little club, and it became very popular, and there were stars, celebrities, Billy Idol's been in there, cast from Friends been in there, yeah, there's just a list of celebrities, sports, you know, from the Lakers to sports newscasters, and I mean just all kinds of celebrities. Nicolas Cage has been in there. Just a lot of celebrities have been in there. I mean, I could make a list, but it was very welcoming, and women would even go in there and shoot pool. It was nothing fearful about it, and you feel safe in there. Very good security and escort to your car. And anyway, I wanted to talk about something that really changed when Epstein came in, because I didn't know about Epstein. I didn't know about Epstein was bringing in women, but I knew something was happening, because there was emotion about the environment of dance clubs that was changing. It was just the hands of clubs that changed. When I was at Fritz That's It, there was a club over by Disneyland that something happened to, and the girls left, and they came over to Fritz That's It. So it piled in a whole set of girls from that club. So there was 2 clubs that piled in girls to Fritz That's It. And so then they started accommodating by adding on another stage, and making contracts and going with growth and change. And then the girls started coming in just from all over the world. They just started coming in. Beautiful women from all over the world. I mean, stunning. These were like model type looking, and people you would think you would see on a screen, and gorgeous women. And on a Friday night and a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, there would be 100 women on the list. And I mean, there were so many women that would show up, and one looked just like Donald Trump's wife. I mean, women use different names when they're in there. I always use Maggie. And I mean, the rappers used to go in there, and I mean, all the rappers, all of them. And 50 Cent, Ice Cube, all of them would go in there. Snoop Dogg, they all went in there. And I saw the changes in the underground parties, that start movement that were happening that I didn't go to, but I could see the changes there. There was a lot of changes that were happening. And so I knew something was going on, but I didn't know anything about Epstein. But there was something going on, because the women were just too beautiful, and they were coming in by the handfuls. And rock stars were dating some of them, and there's just no way that there was not anything organized. There was an organization behind all this, because these women were getting set up. When they came into U.S., they were given places to go to get set up. And dance clubs is one of the places, because that way they could earn some money to help take care of themselves. They could get themselves, you know, like started on their own and meet people and maybe get some contracts somewhere. Like I said, some of them met up with rock stars and moved on, and I saw some of them in commercials. I've saw some of them in movies. So they were getting set up and they had to start somewhere. So they were coming into the clubs, and there is just no way that the Epstein had no list or info to get everything started for these women. I mean, the information that went, there was women from Sweden, there was women from that were Dutch, there was women from, I mean, everywhere around the world, everywhere, not just one area, everywhere around the world, everywhere. There wasn't any restrictions. They came in from everywhere. And there was a couple of women that, there was a woman that looked just like Trump's wife, and she had a friend, and she would always sit on a booth by the DJ. She didn't hardly dance. She just walked around mostly, and she was just basically there. She was there to meet people. She was there like to take up time. Some of them were just there to take up time. It was not a focus of a place they knew were going to be their main objective. It was just a temporary place, and they knew it. For me, it was like, I had to pay my own insurance, my own medical insurance. I had a pre-existing condition, and I wanted to have kids someday, and I had a copper 7 IUD that kept me from having kids when I was young. I was allergic to it, and so I went through some some repairs. I was having my fallopian tubes repaired, and some things that I needed to do that Blue Cross put me on a 5-year waiver for, and I paid out of pocket for my insurance, and I stayed with dancing to pay for my health insurance, and I knew that eventually I was gonna leave it. I knew eventually it wasn't gonna be my, holding on to job. It wasn't gonna be something that I was going to hang on to like in my later years and wish for. It was only something that I knew. I planned my life to leave it. I wasn't dating the men. I didn't have any history with them. I wasn't collecting cards, business cards. I mean, if somebody asked me out, I'd tell them this is just my job, and if I didn't make tips, I didn't have any money. I lived 5 miles from my employment, and my landlord lived right next door to me. I lived in a little bachelor pad, 1 room, that was an add-on place to his and his wife's house. It was just an add-on place, and I paid $350 a month rent, and it was 5 miles from Fritz. That's it. And I lived there 8 years, so I mean, they saw me come home every night, and I had no mischief behavior about me around it, and my life was planned to be there to get me by for my medical insurance needs, and then to leave it. And I saw a lot. I mean, I was there through a lot of changes, from earthquakes to riots, when the truck driver got beat up, and then there was the Rodney thing, and all kinds of things that I saw and had to live through, and Desert Storm, and a lot of things. And I'm going to make some more movies on the different clubs and how they operated on, and working for retired police officers who went into owning dance clubs and how these clubs changed and all that. But because of the Epstein awareness going on right now, I thought I would make this video and let everybody in Arkansas who have degraded me in my environment and shunned me. When I went through my divorce, my ex-husband wanted a divorce. He was living a double life, and he said he wanted a divorce. And he kept his old girlfriend that he's known, you know, for over 20 years around. And once we went through the divorce, he told her that I was a stripper. So she went around to all my employment and said that I was a stripper. And she defamed me in every aspect that she could through my whole career of employment. Everything that I've ever done. And lieutenant, there's a lieutenant that worked for the sheriff's department who tried to do the same thing as trying to degrade me as a stripper, not knowing anything about me at all, and just comparing me to whatever. I mean, these guys, they don't even know what my morals are or how I handled my business. I paid my taxes. I paid my taxes. I told the prosecuting attorney, Billy Allred here, when he wanted me to confess that I was a stripper, he was like, well, at least she admits it. I'm like, yeah, well, I paid my taxes, you know. That shut him up. You know, they wanted to degrade me. They wanted to degrade me, and they attack me. And for years, they did. And there's no dirt they can find on me from that business. None. There isn't any. I'll tell you, Fritz, that's it. I worked at for over 10 years, and it was in Bellflower. You find the owner there and ask him about me, you know, and they'll tell you I showed up 6 days a week if I had to make my tips. You know, I was there. You can't be at one club that long if you're not trying, because if you're not working, if you're not dancing, and you're gonna burn out. You know, if you're just walking around and you're not putting out, then nobody's gonna give you anything. I mean, you gotta dance, you've gotta entertain, you've gotta do something. You know, you've gotta show something for yourself. Otherwise, put out, and I wasn't gonna put out. So I could dance. People would tell me to teach women how to dance because I could spin, dip, and do kicks. When I spin, my hair would go into a tornado cone on top of my head because I could spin so fast and come out of it. I mean, they've never seen me dance. They've never seen me perform, and they just want to bash me. The club I worked at, their Christmas party, women were showing up in limos, and we ate at the best restaurants in Long Beach, and limos pulled up with us in it in our gowns, and we exited out of them and had a great time for our Christmas dinners. And I've got photos of those to prove it. So I mean, their idea of whatever is, I don't know, clumsy and really untalented and going nowhere. You know, I mean, they have no clue, and they for 20 years defamed me in Northwest Arkansas. So I've been waiting to make this video a long time, and any information I'm welcome to give out, because there's nothing that they can hold against me or shame me for. I walk into when I'd walk into my eye doctor place, as Margaret, back lady nurse, would come out and say, "Maggie, aren't you Maggie?" Like I'm supposed to hide that. Like I'm supposed to be ashamed to be Maggie. And I'm like, well, if that's what you want to call me, you know. But as soon as they said it, I knew somebody contacted my eye doctor place, and it was probably from Department of Human Services, because it was medical, you know. It was any place I went or needed professional service, there was some basher, abuser coming out to try to shame me or degrade me, and I was always having to stick up for myself, or them just like pulling their sweater and, you know, like this, the Social Security office like this with theirself when I'd sit in front of them, you know, like they were hiding themselves. And I'm just like, what is this? Oh my God, you know, get a grip, you know. And I don't want their husband. I have never dated a married man. Never. Not one time in my life have I ever dated a married man. Never will. Never want your husband. Never want one. Never wanted one. Never dated a married man. I mean, the things that go on in people's heads are just loony. I mean, get a grip. Can't you evaluate somebody by the way they're handling themselves and their, I mean, can't you tell the difference from somebody who is like, I know people who are in psychology, who have degrees, who were dancers. They put themselves through college with that money, you know, and they're professional people. Honestly, people need to grow up. People need to grow up. If you practice and learn by the truth in life, you would identify it when it's in front of your face. That's all I've got to say.